The sky over the Pacific is calm. Too calm. The sea looks flat and endless. Ships move slowly, one behind the other, carrying thousands of men who have already seen too much war. Some stand on the deck in silence. Others grip the rail and stare ahead. No one is talking much now. They all feel it. Something is different. Suddenly, an alarm cuts through the air. Sharp, urgent. Every head turns upward. Sailors run to their stations. Hearts begin to race. Eyes search the sky. At first, there is nothing, just clouds and sunlight. Then someone shouts. Small shapes appear far away. Too fast, coming straight in. These are not normal attacks. These planes do not turn back. They keep coming, even when hit, even when smoke pours out. The men watching realize the truth in a single, cold moment. The pilot does not plan to return. The plane is the weapon. Fear spreads faster than sound. Guns fire. Orders are shouted. Smoke fills the air. But the planes keep coming. One crashes into the sea. Another slams into a ship nearby. The explosion rocks the water. Metal screams. The calm ocean is gone. This is Okinawa. For months, the war in the Pacific has pushed closer and closer to Japan. Island after island has fallen. Each battle has been hard, but this one feels heavier. This one feels final. The men on these ships know they are not just fighting for land. They are fighting for an ending. Okinawa lies ahead, a green island surrounded by deep blue water. It looks quiet from a distance, peaceful. But beneath that calm surface, both sides are preparing for something terrible. For the Americans, Okinawa is the last step before Japan itself. If they take this island, the war may soon be over. If they fail, the cost will be beyond imagining. For Japan, Okinawa is a wall, the last shield. They know they cannot win the war anymore, but they believe they can make the enemy pay such a high price that the final invasion will never come. Every plane, every ship, every life is part of that plan. The Kamikaze attacks are born from this belief. Young pilots are told their sacrifice will protect their homeland. They take off knowing they will not land again. Some are filled with duty, some with fear, some with doubt they never speak aloud. But once they are in the air, there is no turning back. On the American ships, the waiting is often worse than the attack. Long hours pass with nothing but the sound of engines and waves. Men try to rest, but sleep does not come easily. Every cloud looks like danger. Every distant sound raises tension. When the alarms sound again, bodies move before minds can think. There is no single front line here. The danger comes from above, from the sea, and soon from the land itself. Sailors feel trapped on open water. Soldiers waiting to land feel exposed. Everyone feels watched, hunted. Commanders study maps and reports, trying to stay calm. They talk about plans and numbers, but even they can feel the weight of what is coming. They know Okinawa will not be quick. They know it will test every limit. As the first waves move closer to shore, the island grows larger on the horizon. Hills take shape. Trees become visible. Somewhere inland, defenses are hidden. Somewhere above, more planes are already on the way. The men do not cheer. There is no excitement left. Only focus. Only quiet fear. Each man thinks of home, if only for a moment. Then the moment passes. Training takes over. Duty pushes fear aside, but never fully removes it. The Battle of Okinawa is about to begin, and nothing on land or sea will ever feel the same again. The ships keep moving forward, slow, steady. There is no turning back now. Below the decks, men sit shoulder to shoulder in tight spaces. Some clean their weapons again and again, even though they are already clean. Some stare at nothing. Some whisper short prayers. No one laughs. No one talks about tomorrow. Above them, officers walk with firm steps, even when their stomachs feel tight. They know their job is to look calm. Fear spreads quickly in war. Calm must spread faster. Orders are given in clear voices. Every word matters now. The sky changes through the day. Blue turns to gray. Clouds drift slowly, hiding danger inside them. Every few minutes, eyes go back to the horizon. Radar screens glow softly. Operators lean forward, listening, watching, waiting. A single blip can mean life or death. When the alarms sound again, there is no surprise this time, only tension. Guns turn upward. Sailors move as one body. The noise is loud, but inside each man's head, there is a strange nuance. Time feels slow. Seconds stretch longer than they should. Planes break through the clouds. Some are hit and fall away. Others keep coming. The distance closes fast. Too fast. Men shout warnings. Some freeze for half a breath before moving again. Training pulls them forward. A ship nearby takes a hit. Fire rises into the air. Smoke rolls across the water. The sight shakes everyone who sees it. That ship was just like theirs. Those men were just like them. There is no time to help. The fleet must keep moving. This is when many understand the truth. Okinawa will not be like the other battles. This enemy is not trying to escape. He is trying to break them, to wear them down, to make every mile forward feel unbearable. Night brings no peace. Darkness hides the sky, but danger does not sleep. Alarms still sound. Searchlights cut through blackness. Men stay at their posts for hours, eyes burning, bodies stiff. The mind starts to play tricks. Every shadow feels alive. On shore, unseen defenders wait just as patiently. They listen to the distant sounds of engines and explosions. They know the Americans are coming. They have prepared for this moment for months. Their orders are clear. Hold. Endure. Make the enemy bleed time and strength. By morning, the sea around Okinawa is crowded. Ships stretch as far as the eye can see. It is the largest force many have ever witnessed. And yet, no one feels safe. Size does not bring comfort here. As landing craft are lowered into the water, soldiers climb down nets, one by one. The boats rock beneath their feet. Some men feel sick. Some feel numb. Rifles are held tight. Faces are hard and pale. The island is close now. Close enough to smell the land. Close enough to see beaches and hills. It still looks calm, almost welcoming. But every man knows that calm is a lie. This is only the beginning. The opening breath before a long struggle. Okinawa is waiting, and once the first boots touch shore, there will be no pause, no relief, and no easy way out. Okinawa mattered because it sat between two worlds. Behind it was the open Pacific, already crossed at great cost. Ahead was Japan itself. This island was not just another step forward. It was the final door. For the American leaders, Okinawa was meant to be the last test before the war could end. From this island, planes could reach the Japanese mainland. Ships could gather. Supplies could move faster. If Okinawa was taken, the path to Japan would be open. If it failed, everything would slow down. The war would stretch on, taking more lives on every side. But there was another reason Okinawa mattered. It showed what the final invasion of Japan might look like. American commanders needed answers. How strong would the defense be? How far would Japan go to resist? Okinawa would give those answers, whether they wanted them or not. For Japan, Okinawa was more than land. It was a message. The leaders in Tokyo knew the war was slipping away. Their navy was weak. Their skies were no longer safe. But they believed one thing strongly. If they could make this battle costly enough, the enemy might stop, or at least pause, or think twice before moving closer. Okinawa became that line, the place where Japan would stand and refuse to step back. They did not expect to win in the old sense. They expected to endure, to delay, to shock. The island was home to civilians, too, families who had lived there long before the war reached them. Many were trapped between two forces they did not control. For them, Okinawa mattered because it was their home. And soon, it would become something else entirely. American soldiers were told Okinawa was important, but not everyone understood how much. Many thought it would be hard, but manageable. They had taken islands before. They had survived worse days. Still, something about this mission felt heavier. Letters home spoke of long journeys and strange silence. Men sensed that this battle carried more weight than others. They could feel it in the careful planning, in the serious faces of officers, in the way orders were repeated twice, sometimes 3 times. At sea, sailors learned why Okinawa mattered the hard way. The air attacks were not random. They were focused, organized, relentless. The enemy was willing to lose planes just to damage ships. That was new, and deeply unsettling. Every damaged ship meant fewer supplies reaching shore, fewer wounded going home, more pressure on those still fighting. Okinawa was not only a fight for land, it was a fight to keep the war machine moving. Japanese defenders understood this too. They aimed to stretch the battle, to avoid quick defeat, to turn every American advantage into a slow struggle. Their plan was simple in idea, brutal in reality. Make the enemy stay. Make him pay for every step. Both sides knew something else as well. The world was watching. Not in newspapers or speeches, but in quiet rooms where leaders studied reports. Okinawa would shape decisions far beyond this island. If the battle ended quickly, the next step might follow soon. If it dragged on, everything would change. Timelines, strategies, even the idea of how the war should end. For the men fighting, these large reasons often felt far away. They thought more about surviving the next hour than about the future of nations. But even they could feel the importance of this place. Okinawa pressed on the mind. The constant danger, the endless alerts, the sense that there was no safe rear area, no place to relax. The battle followed them everywhere. This was why Okinawa mattered. Not just because of maps or distance, but because it tested will. It asked how much fear and loss each side could accept. It forced leaders and soldiers alike to face a hard question. How far are you willing to go to end a war? As forces gathered and the island filled with noise and tension, that question hung in the air, unanswered, heavy, and soon it would demand a price. Long before the first landing craft touched the shore, the world around Okinawa was already changing. The Pacific War had been moving in one clear direction for a long time. Island by island, the fighting had come closer to Japan. Each victory brought relief, but also fatigue. The men who fought knew the pattern now. Every new island was harder than the last. American forces had grown strong and confident. Their ships filled the ocean. Their planes ruled much of the sky. Supplies flowed across vast distances. On paper, the advantage was clear. Many believed Japan was close to collapse. The question was no longer if the war would end, but how. Yet confidence carried a quiet danger. Every earlier battle had taught hard lessons. Easy plans often failed once fighting began. The enemy adapted. The terrain surprised. Weather changed everything. Still, the pressure to move forward never stopped. Time mattered. Leaders wanted results. At the same time, exhaustion ran deep. Many soldiers had been fighting for years. Some had survived multiple campaigns. Their bodies were worn. Their minds were tired. They missed home. They missed normal life. Okinawa felt like one more test, but also like the last one they could endure. In Japan, the mood was very different. The war had brought loss after loss. Cities had been damaged. Supplies were low. Fuel was scarce. The navy that once ruled the seas was now a shadow of itself. The skies were no longer safe. People felt the war closing in. Japanese leaders faced a harsh reality. They could not stop the enemy everywhere. They had to choose where to stand. Okinawa became that place. It was close enough to Japan to matter deeply. Losing it would bring the war to the homeland's doorstep. There was also fear of invasion, fear of what might follow. Many leaders believed that if American forces landed on Japan itself, the fighting would be far worse. To prevent that, Okinawa had to become a wall, a place of delay and resistance. Planning on the Japanese side focused on patience. Instead of meeting the enemy on the beaches, they chose to wait in Labad. They dug in. They prepared positions hidden from view. They studied the island carefully. Hills, caves, and ridges became part of the plan. Above all, there was the air. Japan no longer had the strength for long air battles, but they had pilots, and they had belief. The idea of using planes as final weapons took hold. It was born from desperation, but also from duty as they saw it. Young men were trained for one-way missions. Some accepted this with quiet resolve. Some struggled in silence. Many were barely old enough to shave. They wrote letters home they knew might never be read. Their sacrifice was meant to protect the nation. Across the sea, American planners tried to prepare for everything. Maps were studied again and again. Landing zones were chosen carefully. Weather patterns were tracked. Supply lines were planned down to the smallest detail. Okinawa was too important to rush blindly. Still, no plan could cover every fear. Intelligence reports warned of strong defenses. There were signs that Japan was preparing something new. The Kamikaze attacks had already appeared in earlier battles. Now they were expected in large numbers. This worried naval commanders deeply. Ships were powerful, but also vulnerable. A single hit could cripple months of effort. Sailors trained endlessly to respond faster, shoot better, stay alert longer. But human limits remained. As the invasion force gathered, it became impossible to hide its size. Thousands of ships moved together. The sea seemed alive with steel. From the air, it looked like a moving city. For many, it was impressive. For others, it was terrifying. The closer they came to Okinawa, the heavier the silence became. Jokes faded. Conversations grew short. Men focused inward. Everyone knew this battle would be watched closely. Success or failure here would echo far beyond the island. On Okinawa itself, civilians felt the tension rising. Rumors spread. Soldiers moved through villages. Supplies were taken. People were told to prepare, but not how. Many did not understand what was coming. They only knew that their quiet island was about to disappear. The land waited, unchanged on the surface. Fields, hills, and villages stood as they always had. But underneath, the island was no longer peaceful. It had been turned into a battlefield before the first shot was fired. As days passed, both sides felt the clock ticking. American leaders wanted a quick victory, but prepared for delay. Japanese leaders expected defeat, but planned for endurance. Neither side truly knew how long Okinawa would last. The war had reached a point where speed and patience fought each other. Push too fast and suffer heavy loss. Move too slow and lose momentum. Every decision carried weight. For the men about to fight, the world before the battle was filled with waiting. Waiting on ships, waiting in camps, waiting in silence. Each man carried his own thoughts: fear, hope, doubt, duty. Okinawa was no longer just an island. It had become a question, a test, a place where the future of the war would be shaped, not by words or plans, but by what happened when waiting finally ended. The battle for Okinawa was not only fought with ships, planes, and soldiers. It was also fought inside the minds of the people in charge. Far from the noise of guns, commanders on both sides carried heavy thoughts. Their choices would shape the lives of thousands they would never meet. On the American side, senior commanders believed in planning. They trusted systems, numbers, and preparation. They had learned from earlier battles: land fast, build strength, push forward, avoid mistakes made in the past. On maps and charts, Okinawa looked manageable. Large forces, strong supply lines, air and sea power working together. Yet behind the calm voices and steady orders, doubts remained. Some officers worried the island would be harder than expected. Intelligence reports spoke of deep defenses, hidden positions, a patient enemy. These warnings were read carefully, but not always fully believed. At sea, naval commanders felt special pressure. They knew the fleet was exposed. The enemy could not match them ship for ship, but that was no longer the point. Kamikaze attacks changed the rules. One plane could damage a ship that took years to build. One mistake could slow the entire invasion. Admirals talked about air cover and defense rings. They pushed for constant alert, no rest, no gaps. But they also knew sailors were human. Eyes could miss things. Hands could shake after days without sleep. The sea gave no shelter. On land, Army and Marine leaders studied the island again and again. They debated where the main resistance would be: beaches or hills, north or south. Some believed the enemy would fight hard at the shore. Others suspected a deeper trap. These disagreements mattered: where troops landed, how fast they moved, how much force was used early. Each choice carried risk. Move too fast and walk into danger. Move too slow and give the enemy time. Across the sea, Japanese commanders faced a very different reality. They knew they could not defeat the Americans in open battle. Their strength was gone. Their fuel was limited. Their ships were few. But they still believed in control through patience. Japanese leaders chose to avoid the beaches. They would not waste lives in a direct clash. Instead, they would wait inland. Let the enemy land. Let him think it was easy. Then strike slowly, carefully, from strong positions. This plan required discipline. Soldiers had to resist the urge to fight early. They had to hide, stay silent, and endure bombing without response. For many, this was harder than fighting. It demanded trust in leadership and belief in sacrifice. The most painful decisions involved the air war. Japanese leaders knew their pilots could not survive long against American fighters, but they believed sacrifice could change the enemy's mind. Kamikaze missions became part of strategy, not emotion alone. Pilots were trained quickly. Some volunteered. Some were chosen. Many were very young. They listened as officers spoke of duty, honor, and protection of home. Some believed deeply. Others felt fear, but obeyed. Behind closed doors, even some commanders felt doubt. Would this work? Would sacrifice truly stop the enemy? Or would it only bring more suffering? These questions often stayed unspoken. In war, silence can feel safer than doubt. American leaders tried to understand this mindset, but it was difficult. They studied reports. They talked about enemy morale. But the idea of pilots not planning to return was hard to fully accept. It went against everything they knew. This Yitbin understanding mattered. It shaped reactions. Some early warnings were underestimated. Some threats felt unreal until they happened again and again. Experience would teach harsh lessons. Both sides carried pride. American pride in strength and progress. Japanese pride in endurance and honor. Pride can inspire courage, but it can also blind. At Okinawa, pride met reality. Communication was another challenge. Orders passed through long chains. Messages took time. Weather disrupted plans. When things went wrong, decisions had to be made quickly, often with limited information. Commanders faced impossible choices: protect ships or push forward, rest men or keep pressure, change plans or stay the course. There were no perfect answers, only options with different costs. On the ground, junior officers carried their own burden. Lieutenants and captains led small groups through unknown land. They made decisions that maps could not help with. A hill, a path, a moment of silence before danger. These leaders felt torn between orders and reality, between caution and duty, between protecting their men and completing the mission. Many learned that leadership meant living with doubt. For Japanese soldiers in hidden positions, command felt distant. Orders had been given long before. Now they waited. Hunger grew. Bombing shook the ground. Silence became heavy. Faith in the plan was all they had. The minds at war were filled with fear, hope, belief, and pressure. No side had full control. No side fully understood the other. Decisions made in quiet rooms would soon collide with chaos. As Okinawa drew the forces closer together, the space for thought grew smaller. Action would replace planning. Instinct would replace debate. Soon, commanders would no longer ask what might happen. They would face what was happening. And once that moment came, every belief and decision would be tested in ways no plan could predict. The first hours feel almost unreal. The landing begins under a strange calm. The beaches are quiet. Too quiet. Soldiers move forward expecting fire, but it does not come. Boats reach the shore. Men jump into shallow water and run. Some look back in confusion. This was not what they feared. Commanders watch closely. Silence can be dangerous. The enemy is here. Everyone knows it. The question is where. As more troops come ashore, the sense of relief grows, but it never fully settles. Inland, hills rise gently. Fields stretch out. Villages stand still. There is no clear sign of resistance. It feels like a trap, but no one can point to it yet. At sea, there is no such calm. The first large waves of air attacks arrive without warning. Sirens scream across the fleet. Sailors rush to guns that already feel worn from days of alert. The sky fills with motion. Some planes turn away under fire. Others do not. The attacks come again and again, day after day. There is no clear pattern. Sometimes they arrive in groups, sometimes alone. The waiting between attacks is cruel. Men cannot relax. They eat when they can. Sleep comes in short pieces. Each alarm brings the same fear. Is this the one that gets through? Ships maneuver constantly, trying to avoid becoming easy targets. Smoke drifts across the water. The sea is filled with noise. Guns, engines, shouted orders. Even when an attack ends, the tension stays. On land, the illusion of ease breaks slowly. Then all at once, as American forces push south, resistance appears. Not in open charges, but from hidden places. Shots from hills, fire from unseen positions. The enemy is patient and well-placed. Soldiers learn quickly that the ground itself is part of the defense. Hills hide tunnels. Ridges hide strong points. When one position is taken, another waits just beyond it. Progress becomes slow. Measured in yards, not miles. Rain begins to fall. Roads turn to mud. Vehicles struggle. Supplies take longer to reach the front. Men carry more weight than planned. Fatigue builds quietly, but steadily. The sound of battle never fully stops. Even at night, there are distant explosions, occasional shots, the low hum of aircraft overhead. Darkness offers no safety, only uncertainty. Japanese defenders stay hidden for long periods, then strike suddenly. They know the land. They know where to wait. Their goal is not speed. It is delay. Every hour gained is a success. American troops feel the pressure. Attacks must be careful. Every hill is studied. Every movement is planned. Mistakes cost lives. The learning curve is steep and unforgiving. At sea, losses begin to weigh heavily. Damaged ships are pulled back. Crews watch them leave. Knowing fewer ships means more work for those remaining. The fleet keeps fighting, but the strain is clear. Medics work without pause. They treat burns, shock, exhaustion. Faces grow hollow. Voices grow quiet. The reality of Okinawa settles in. Commanders adjust plans. Timetables slip. Expectations change. What was meant to be quick now looks long. Reports speak of strong defenses ahead. The enemy shows no sign of collapse. The kamikaze attacks intensify. Pilots come in low. Fast. Determined. Sailors see faces for brief seconds before impact. It leaves a mark on the mind that does not fade easily. Some sailors begin to fear the sky more than the sea. There is no cover. Only reaction. Only hope that training and luck are enough. On land, progress continues, but at a cost. Each ridge is earned slowly. Each position fought for with patience and coordination. Artillery and air support are used carefully, but nothing guarantees success. The enemy does not run. They fall back only when they must, and when they do, they leave behind more defenses. The battle stretches on. What began with silence now feels endless. Okinawa has revealed its true nature. It is not a single fight. It is a test of endurance. Men begin to realize this battle will not end soon, not in days, not in weeks. It will demand steady effort, constant alert, and emotional strength. The battle has ignited fully now. At sea, in the air, and on land, the struggle has taken hold. There is no clear front, no clear pause, only forward motion under constant pressure. And as both sides dig deeper, it becomes clear that Okinawa will not be decided by one moment. It will be decided by how long each side can endure what comes next. As the battle drags on, Okinawa begins to change the way decisions are made. Early confidence fades. Every choice now feels heavier. What once seemed simple now carries hidden risk. Commanders learn that here, small actions can shape entire days of fighting. One early decision stands out. American forces choose to push south instead of spreading evenly across the island. On maps, this makes sense. The South holds the strongest defenses. Break them, and the rest may fall. But this choice also means moving straight into the enemy's plan. Japanese defenders have prepared deeply layered positions. They are not meant to stop the Americans quickly. They are meant to slow them, force them to attack again and again. Every ridge becomes a wall. Every valley becomes a funnel of danger. When American units advance too quickly, they are met with sudden resistance. When they move too slowly, they are hit from the sides. Timing becomes everything. A delay of minutes can save lives, or cost them. At sea, critical decisions are made every hour. Fleet commanders must decide where to place ships. Too close to shore, and they face land fire and air attack. Too far, and support to troops weakens. There is no perfect position. Air defense tactics are constantly adjusted. Ships form tighter circles, then wider ones. Radar warnings improve, but pilots adapt. Kamikaze planes fly low to avoid detection. Others come from high angles. Each new method forces another response. One key decision is to keep damaged ships in action when possible. Pulling them away reduces strength. Keeping them risks further loss. Many captains choose to stay. Their crews know the danger, but also know their presence matters. On land, another turning point comes with the realization that beach defenses were not the main threat. The real battle lies inland. This forces a shift in thinking. Fast movement gives way to careful pressure. Patrols replace charges. Observation becomes as important as firepower. Weather plays its part. Heavy rain turns ground into thick mud. Vehicles stall. Supplies slow. Commanders must decide whether to push through or pause. Pushing risks exhaustion. Pausing gives the enemy time. In several moments, restraint proves wiser than speed. Units that wait, study, and coordinate suffer fewer losses than those that rush forward. This lesson spreads slowly, often learned through painful experience. Japanese commanders also face difficult choices. Their plan depends on holding strong lines as long as possible. But every day of fighting drains strength. Ammunition runs low. Food grows scarce. Communication becomes harder. At times, Japanese leaders choose not to counterattack, even when chances appear. They know their goal is delay, not sudden victory. Letting the enemy come closer, then striking from prepared ground, often causes more damage than open attack. The kamikaze strategy reaches its peak during this period. Leaders must decide how many pilots to send and when. Send too many too early, and the effect fades. Hold them too long, and opportunities are lost. Some attacks achieve shocking results. Others fail completely. Each success strengthens belief. Each failure deepens doubt. Still, the strategy continues, driven by the hope that one more strike might change everything. American leaders debate how to respond: increase air patrols or save fuel, rotate crews or keep experienced men at posts, bring in more ships or protect those already damaged. Every choice shifts risk elsewhere. One major decision is to maintain constant pressure despite fatigue. Rest is limited. Crews rotate only when necessary. This keeps strength high, but wears people down. Mistakes increase. Tempers shorten. Still, the pressure continues. On land, commanders face another turning point when they encounter the main defensive line. Progress slows almost to a stop. Losses rise. Morale dips. Leaders must decide whether to attack directly or try to move around. Direct attacks promise quicker results, but higher cost. Moving around takes time and exposes flanks. Different units try different approaches. Results vary. Some breakthroughs come from patience, others from bold moves made at the right moment. Junior officers play a critical role here. A lieutenant choosing to wait for support. A captain choosing a different path up a hill. These choices are rarely recorded in reports, but they shape the fight on the ground. For many soldiers, survival depends on these small decisions. Which path to take, when to move, when to stop. The line between caution and hesitation becomes thin. Civilians trapped on the island are affected by these choices too. Fighting shifts locations. Villages become empty. People hide wherever they can. Each movement of troops changes their chances of survival. As weeks pass, the idea of a quick end disappears. Leaders begin planning for a long struggle. Supplies are adjusted. Reinforcements arrive. Expectations change. Okinawa is no longer a step forward. It is the main fight. Japanese commanders also sense the shift. Their lines bend, but do not break. Each day held feels like success. Each delay feels like purpose fulfilled. Even as losses grow, the strategy remains. Yet cracks begin to show. Some positions become isolated. Communication fails. Units fight on without knowing the wider situation. Decisions become local, based on immediate survival rather than strategy. At sea, the fleet shows strain. Damage accumulates. Crews are exhausted. Still, operations continue. The choice to stay engaged is reaffirmed again and again. Leaving would mean failure for those on land. One of the hardest decisions is accepting that losses will continue. There is no clean solution, no single move that ends the battle. Leaders must balance progress with endurance. By this stage, Okinawa has become a battle of choices under pressure. Not one grand moment, but hundreds of small decisions layered over time. Some are right, some are wrong. All carry consequences. The turning points are not marked by flags or announcements. They are felt quietly, in the slowing of advances, in the changing tone of reports, in the faces of men who no longer expect quick success. The battle has passed the point of return. Decisions now shape not just the outcome of Okinawa, but the thinking about what comes next. Every commander knows this, even if they do not say it aloud. Okinawa is no longer about winning fast. It is about lasting longer. And in that long test, every decision matters more than ever. As the days turn into weeks, the cost of Okinawa becomes impossible to ignore. It is written on faces first, eyes that no longer look surprised, movements that feel slower, voices that sound flat, even when giving urgent orders. The battle does not only wear down bodies, it wears down minds. For soldiers on land, fear becomes a constant companion, not sharp and sudden, but quiet and heavy. It follows them through rain and mud. It sits beside them as they wait behind rocks and ridges. It whispers during the long pauses between action. There is little rest. Even when fighting stops for a moment, the mind does not. Men lie down, but sleep does not come easily. Every sound feels important. A footstep, a cough, a distant explosion. The body is tired, but the nerves stay awake. Food is eaten quickly, often without taste. Hands shake from fatigue. Clothes stay wet for days. The ground never feels dry. Mud sticks to boots and uniforms, making every step harder. Simple movements take effort. The land itself seems to fight back. Steep hills strain legs. Slippery slopes cause falls. Carrying gear becomes painful. Men help each other when they can, but everyone is stretched thin. Medics move quietly through this world. They work without pause, often under danger. Their faces are calm, but their eyes show the weight they carry. They treat wounds, exhaustion, and shock. Sometimes all they can offer is comfort and presence. Many soldiers learn the hardest lesson of war here. Survival can depend on luck as much as skill. Two men can do the same thing. One lives, one does not. There is no clear reason. This truth is difficult to accept. At sea, sailors face a different kind of strain. They live with constant alert. There is no front line. The sky is always a threat. Even during meals, alarms can sound. Even during sleep, fear waits nearby. When a ship is hit, the experience stays with those who witness it. The sudden noise, the violent movement, the confusion. Crews rush to control damage, knowing that seconds matter. Fires must be contained. Systems must be restored. Lives depend on teamwork. Afterward, there is little time to process what happened. The ship stays in position. Another attack may come at any moment. Sailors return to their posts, even as smoke lingers and nerves remain raw. Some sailors begin to fear the sound of engines overhead. Others fear silence more. Both mean danger in different ways. The mind learns to stay tense even when nothing is happening. The kamikaze attacks leave deep emotional scars. Seeing a pilot continue toward a ship, knowing there is no intention to survive, shakes many deeply. It raises questions no one has time to answer. Why would someone do this? How do you fight an enemy who accepts death? These thoughts are rarely spoken aloud. Men keep them inside. There is work to do. Talking too much about fear can make it grow. For Japanese soldiers, the human cost is also severe. Hidden in caves and positions, they endure constant bombardment. The ground shakes. Air becomes thick with dust. Days blend together. Food is scarce. Water is limited. Silence becomes a test. Waiting without moving. Listening without responding. Many fight hunger and illness alongside fear. Orders remain clear, but conditions worsen. Still, many hold their positions, believing their endurance serves a greater purpose. Some Japanese soldiers feel pride in resisting. Others feel trapped. Some wonder if their sacrifice will truly matter. These doubts are rarely shared. Duty demands quiet acceptance. Civilians suffer in ways that often go unseen. Families are forced to flee their homes. Villages are emptied. People hide wherever they can. Many do not understand the plans of either side. They only know danger surrounds them. Fear becomes part of daily life for civilians. They move at night. They stay silent during the day. Every unfamiliar sound could mean discovery. Survival becomes the only goal. On both sides, letters home grow shorter. Words feel harder to find. How do you explain endless waiting, constant danger, and deep fatigue to someone far away? Many choose not to try. Morale rises and falls without warning. A small success can lift spirits for a moment. A sudden loss can crush them just as quickly. The emotional balance is fragile. Friendships grow stronger under pressure. Men rely on each other not just for safety, but for strength. A shared look, a brief joke, a quiet word of encouragement. These moments matter more than anyone expects. At the same time, loss becomes personal. Units shrink. Familiar faces disappear. There is little time to grieve. The battle continues. The absence is felt quietly. Commanders begin to notice the toll. Reports mention exhaustion. Requests for rest increase. Still, operations must go on. The demands of the battle do not pause for human limits. Some men break down, not in dramatic ways, but quietly. They struggle to focus. They freeze for a moment too long. Others push themselves beyond reason, refusing rest even when offered. Medical officers speak of battle fatigue, but words cannot fully describe it. This is not weakness. It is the result of living under constant threat with no clear end. At sea, crews count the days by alarms and attacks, not calendars. On land, soldiers mark time by hills taken and positions held. Everyone measures progress differently, but all feel the same weight. The human cost of Okinawa is not only in lives lost or wounded, it is in the change that happens inside people. The hardening, the quiet sadness, the loss of innocence, even for those who survive. By now, no one speaks of quick victory. Survival becomes a form of success. Endurance becomes an achievement. Okinawa takes something from everyone who fights there. It asks for strength beyond training. It demands patience beyond reason. And it leaves marks that will last long after the battle itself begins to fade. As the struggle continues, both sides press on, carrying their wounds in silence. The battle moves closer to its end, but the cost has already been paid in ways that numbers can never fully show. Slowly, almost quietly, the battle begins to lose its intensity. Not because the danger disappears, but because one side no longer has the strength to keep resisting at the same level. On Okinawa, there is no single moment that feels like victory. There is no clear sound that signals the end. The fighting simply becomes thinner, less frequent, less organized. American troops continue to push forward, yard by yard. Hills that once took days to approach are finally crossed. Positions that once seemed unbreakable fall silent. Resistance still exists, but it no longer feels endless. The rhythm of the battle changes. For many soldiers, this shift feels strange. After weeks of constant pressure, the quiet feels unnatural. Men remain alert, unsure if it is another trap. Weapons stay ready. Eyes scan every slope and shadow. Experience has taught them not to trust sudden calm. At sea, the number of air attacks begins to drop. Alarms still sound, but less often. When they do, the response is sharp and practiced. Sailors notice the change, but they do not relax. Too many times before, hope has been followed by shock. Japanese defenses are breaking down, not in one collapse, but in many small endings. Some units lose contact with command, others run out of supplies. Some soldiers continue to fight simply because stopping feels impossible. For many, the battle ends not with orders, but with isolation. Commanders on both sides understand what is happening. Okinawa is reaching its limit. The cost has been enormous. The question now is no longer how to win, but how to finish without losing more than necessary. For American leadership, the result is clear on paper. The island is secured. The objective is achieved. Okinawa is under control. But emotionally, it does not feel like a clean success. There is no celebration, no relief, only exhaustion. Troops are rotated when possible. Some units are pulled back. Others stay to secure areas. The ground is scarred. Villages are damaged. The island feels heavy, as if it remembers everything that happened. Japanese resistance fades into silence. Some soldiers surrender. Others do not. Many never hear that the battle is effectively over. For them, survival has already replaced strategy. The war has narrowed to the space around them. Civilians slowly emerge from hiding. What they see is unfamiliar. Homes are gone. Fields are damaged. The world they knew before Okinawa no longer exists. For them, the end of fighting is only the beginning of another struggle. When the last organized resistance ends, there is no clear emotional release. Men feel empty, drained. Some feel relief. Others feel nothing at all. The battle has taken too much to allow simple emotions. Okinawa is called a victory. But among those who fought, it feels more like survival. The aftermath begins almost immediately. Reports are written. Numbers are counted. Ships are repaired or sent away. Units are reorganized. The machinery of war moves forward without pause. American leaders study the results carefully. Okinawa has answered many questions, and those answers are deeply unsettling. The level of resistance, the willingness to sacrifice, the effect of constant attack. All of it points to one troubling conclusion. If this is what it took to take Okinawa, what would it take to invade Japan itself? Naval commanders focus on the Kamikaze threat. They understand now that air power alone cannot fully protect ships. Even the strongest fleet can be worn down. This changes how they think about future operations. Army planners look at the ground fighting, the slow progress, the high cost of every position. They imagine similar terrain on the Japanese mainland, but with even more defenders. The picture is grim. For Japanese leadership, Okinawa is also a lesson, though a painful one. The strategy of endurance worked in one sense. The enemy paid a high price. The battle lasted longer than expected, but the island was still lost. The hope that Okinawa alone could change the course of the war begins to fade. Sacrifice has been great, but it has not stopped the enemy. This reality settles heavily on those still making decisions. Civilians across Japan hear fragments of what happened. Stories, rumors, losses. Okinawa becomes a warning, a glimpse of what could come next. Across the ocean, American families receive letters that speak carefully of survival and loss. Many never fully understand what Okinawa was like. The men who return often struggle to explain it themselves. The battle leaves marks that are not visible. Men wake suddenly at night. Loud sounds cause tension. Silence feels uneasy. Okinawa follows them long after they leave the island. Strategically, Okinawa reshapes the final phase of the war. It slows momentum, It forces new thinking. It pushes leaders to consider options that once seemed unthinkable. The idea of a direct invasion of Japan now feels terrifying. The cost appears almost impossible to accept. Okinawa has shown what resistance looks like when a nation believes it is fighting for survival. In quiet rooms far from the island, decisions are debated, paths are weighed, consequences are imagined. Okinawa stands at the center of these discussions, not as a victory, but as a warning. In the end, Okinawa is remembered not for a single heroic moment, but for what it revealed. It showed the limits of power, the price of determination, the danger of underestimating human will. It reminds us that wars are not ended by strength alone. They are shaped by fear, belief, and endurance. Okinawa forced both sides to confront these truths. For the soldiers and sailors who lived through it, Okinawa remains a place of silence and memory, a place where survival mattered more than glory, where victory felt heavy, and where the future of the war quietly changed direction. The story of Okinawa does not end with the last shot. It lives on in the choices that followed, and in the lesson it left behind. When a war reaches this point, there are no easy endings. Only hard decisions, shaped by what was learned the hardest way.